Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the stars drift past through the main view screen. The ship moved through space like a silent predator, its dark hull reflecting no light. Jake had been captain for 3 years now, and he still felt proud every time he looked at his vessel. The Liberty was the newest warship in the human fleet, built with technology that even he didn't fully understand. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Lieutenant Amy Parker sat at her sensor station, watching for any signs of trouble. Commander Nick Davis stood beside Jake reviewing patrol reports on his tablet. Chief Engineer Ben Taylor was down in the engine room, making sure everything ran smoothly. Dr. Lisa Chen worked in her lab, studying samples from their last mission. Communications Officer Ryan Brooks monitored all frequencies for any signals. Security Chief Kate Williams walked the corridors, keeping the crew sharp and ready. Jake liked his crew. They were smart, brave, and loyal. Most of them had never seen real combat, but they trained hard every day. The Liberty was designed to protect human space from any threat, though so far they had found nothing but empty systems and dead planets. "Captain," Amy said suddenly, her voice cutting through the peaceful silence, "I'm picking up something on long-range sensors." Jake moved to her station, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. "What do you have?" Amy's fingers danced over her controls, bringing up data on her screen. "Multiple contacts, sir. 12 large vessels, unknown configuration. They just dropped out of hyperspace about 2 light minutes away." Nick joined them, his face serious. "Friendly?" "Unknown," Amy replied. "I've never seen ships like these before. They're different." Jake studied the sensor readings. The ships were massive, each one at least twice the size of the Liberty. Their hulls seemed to pulse and move like they were alive. Energy readings showed power sources unlike anything in human databases. "Red alert," Jake ordered. The bridge lights dimmed and emergency lighting bathed everything in a soft red glow. Throughout the ship, crew members rushed to battle stations. Far away, Admiral Zexathara stood in the command center of his flagship. The Corvani warrior was 8 feet tall, his body covered in natural armor that gleamed under the biolights. His forearms moved constantly as he reviewed tactical data, while his large compound eyes took in every detail of his surroundings. The Corvani hegemony had conquered 17 star systems in the past decade. Their bioships were grown rather than built, living vessels that could repair themselves and adapt to any situation. Each ship carried thousands of warriors, all eager for battle and glory. "Admiral," his sensor operator hissed, mandibles clicking together in excitement, "we have detected a single vessel in this system. Small craft, unknown origin." Zexathara's chest swelled with anticipation. Another primitive species to add to their empire. Scan the vessel. Determine their technology level. The sensor operator's claws tapped against his console, sending scanning beams toward the Liberty. Within moments, the readings began coming back. But as the data appeared on the screens, the operator's excitement turned to confusion. "Admiral, these readings cannot be correct." Zexathara moved closer, his heavy footsteps echoing in the bioship's living corridors. The walls pulsed around them, breathing with the ship's life rhythm. "Explain." "The vessel appears to be constructed from materials that do not exist in our databases. The power source, Admiral, it shows energy levels that should be impossible for such a small craft." Other Corvani officers gathered around the sensor station, their compound eyes reflecting the strange data scrolling across biological screens. The Liberty's quantum computers appeared as reality-bending devices. Its fusion reactors showed as forces that could tear apart planets. The gravitational field generators registered as weapons that could crush entire fleets. "This must be an error," Zexathara growled, but doubt crept into his voice. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen readings like these. Back on the Liberty, Jake watched his crew work with practiced efficiency. The ship's defensive systems came online one by one. Energy shields flickered to life around the hull. Weapon systems powered up but remained targeted away from the alien vessels. Jake believed in being prepared, but he also hoped for peaceful contact. "Any luck with communications?" he asked Ryan. The young officer shook his head. "I'm broadcasting standard first contact protocols on all frequencies. Mathematical sequences, pictures showing atomic structure, peaceful intentions. No response yet." Dr. Chen arrived on the bridge, having rushed up from her lab. "Captain, preliminary scans of those vessels suggest they're biological in nature. Living ships, possibly grown rather than built. Hostile? Nick asked. Unknown, Chen replied. But their formation suggests military organization. Whoever they are, they're not explorers or merchants. Jake nodded. 12 warships dropping into an empty system could only mean one thing. They were looking for something, and his ship was the only target around. On the Corvani flagship, panic was beginning to spread. As the Liberty systems powered up, the alien sensors detected energy patterns that defied everything they knew about physics. To their instruments, the human ship appeared to be charging weapons of unimaginable power. Admiral, another officer called out, his voice shaking. The alien vessel is activating multiple unknown systems. Energy readings are increasing exponentially. Zexathera felt something he had not experienced in decades of warfare. Genuine fear. The single human ship showed power levels that matched his entire fleet. How was such a thing possible? All ships maintain distance, he ordered. Do not approach the alien vessel. His subordinates looked at him in shock. The great Admiral Zexathera, conqueror of worlds, was retreating from a single enemy ship, but as they studied the sensor data, they began to understand. Whatever species had built that vessel possessed technology far beyond Corvani understanding. Jake stood on his bridge, unaware of the terror his ship was causing. To him, the Liberty was simply following standard protocols. Shields up, weapons ready, but holding position for peaceful contact. He had no idea that his routine defensive measures appeared as reality-warping superweapons to the alien observers. The two fleets faced each other across the void of space, each side making assumptions about the other. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change both species forever. But first, they would have to overcome the vast gulf of misunderstanding that separated them. In the darkness between stars, fear and wonder danced together, setting the stage for humanity's first steps onto the galactic stage. Lieutenant Amy Parker stared at her sensor display, her eyes wide with disbelief. The readings she was getting from the alien ships made no sense according to everything she had learned about space technology. The vessels appeared to be alive, their hulls breathing and pulsing like giant creatures swimming through the void. Captain Morrison, she called out, her voice steady despite her confusion. These ships are unlike anything in our databases. They're biological, sir, living vessels. Jake moved to her station, studying the data streaming across her screens. Each alien ship was massive, easily 3 times the length of the Liberty and twice as wide. Their hulls showed cellular structures, organic materials that somehow survived in the vacuum of space. Energy flowed through them like blood through veins. How many crew members? Jake asked. Amy worked her controls, trying to penetrate the alien ship's strange composition. Hard to tell, sir. The biomatter interferes with our scans, but preliminary estimates suggest thousands on each vessel. Commander Nick Davis whistled softly. 12 ships, thousands of crew each. We're looking at a fleet of over 50,000 aliens. The bridge fell quiet as everyone absorbed this information. The Liberty carried a crew of only 800. They were outnumbered by more than 60 to 1. On the Corvani flagship, Admiral Zexathera paced the command center, his forearms gesturing frantically as he tried to make sense of the impossible readings his sensors provided. The human ship defied every law of physics he understood. Show me the vessel again, he commanded. The main bioscreen flickered, displaying an image of the USS Liberty. To human eyes, it was a beautiful ship, sleek and angular with smooth curves that spoke of advanced engineering. Its dark hull absorbed light, making it seem like a piece of night itself. But to the Corvani, it looked like something from their worst nightmares. The hull material, Zexathera's science officer explained, appears to be composed of elements that should not be stable. Our computers cannot identify the alloys. And the power source? Admiral? The energy readings suggest they have harnessed forces we believe to be theoretical. The reactor signatures indicate they are manipulating matter at the quantum level, extracting energy from the very fabric of space itself. Zexathera's compound eyes fixed on the image of the Liberty. His people had conquered star systems by sheer force and superior numbers. Their bioships could regenerate damage, adapt to new weapons, and survive in conditions that would destroy metal vessels. But this single human ship appeared to wield power that could unmake reality itself. Back on the Liberty, Dr. Lisa Chen had joined the bridge crew, her tablet filled with preliminary analysis of the alien vessels. She was the ship's xenobiologist, trained to study and understand alien life forms, But these ships challenged everything she thought she knew. "Captain," she said, approaching Jake's command chair, "I've never seen anything like these vessels. They appear to be grown rather than built, possibly from modified genetic templates. The sophistication required to create living starships of this size suggests a highly advanced civilization." "Advanced enough to be a threat?" Nick asked. Chen hesitated. "Sir, any species capable of biological engineering on this scale would have to possess scientific knowledge far beyond our current understanding. They could be peaceful explorers, but the military formation suggests otherwise." Chief Engineer Ben Taylor's voice crackled over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I'm reading some unusual energy fluctuations from our quantum drive. The alien ships seem to be scanning us pretty intensively. Are we in any danger?" Jake asked. "No, sir, but whatever scanning technology they're using is unlike anything I've seen. It's like they're trying to peer into the very atoms of our ship." Jake frowned. If the aliens were conducting such detailed scans, they were probably gathering intelligence for an attack. He needed to show them that the Liberty was not helpless, but he also didn't want to start a war. "Amy, bring our defensive systems to full readiness. Ben, I want you to run a complete diagnostic on all ship systems. If these aliens want to know what we're capable of, let's give them something to think about." "Aye, sir," both officers responded. On the Corvani flagship, the sensor operators watched in growing terror as the human ship's systems came fully online. The Liberty's quantum computers, designed to calculate hyperspace jumps and manage ship operations, appeared as devices capable of processing the fundamental forces of the universe. The fusion reactors, which provided clean energy for the ship's needs, registered as miniature stars contained within impossible materials. "Admiral," the sensor operator's voice shook with fear. "The alien vessel is activating what appear to be reality manipulation devices. Energy levels are climbing beyond our measurement capabilities." Sexathera felt his warrior's pride crumble as he stared at the readings. His own flagship, the pride of the Corvani fleet, mounted biocannons that could melt through standard starship armor. Acid launchers that could eat through hull plating like paper. Swarm pods that released millions of living projectiles to overwhelm enemy defenses. But compared to what the human ship appeared to possess, his weapons were like stones thrown against a mountain. "All ships maintain maximum distance," he ordered, his voice carrying across the bio-neural network that connected his fleet. "Under no circumstances are any vessels to approach the alien craft." His sub-commanders responded with confusion and barely concealed fear. Never before had Admiral Zexathera ordered a retreat without firing a shot. But as they reviewed the sensor data themselves, they began to understand. The human ship was not just technologically superior, it was impossibly advanced. Communications Officer Ryan Brooks worked frantically at his station, trying every protocol in the human database to establish contact with the alien fleet. He broadcast mathematical sequences, periodic tables, star charts, and peaceful greetings in every language humans had developed for first contact scenarios. The response was always the same. "Silence, Captain," Ryan reported, frustration evident in his voice. "They're not responding to any of our communications attempts. Either they don't understand our signals or they're choosing not to answer." "Keep trying," Jake ordered. "There has to be some way to reach them." Security Chief Kate Williams had been monitoring the situation from her station, analyzing the tactical implications of their position. 12 alien warships against one human vessel were not good odds, no matter how advanced the Liberty might be. "Captain," she said, "if those ships decide to attack, we'll need every advantage we can get. I recommend we demonstrate our capabilities clearly. Show them we're not easy prey." Jake considered her words. The standoff was stretching on and tensions were rising on both sides. Something had to break the deadlock before misunderstandings led to bloodshed, but he worried that any aggressive action might trigger the very battle he was trying to avoid. Unknown to Jake, his caution was the only thing preventing a massacre. The Corvani fleet was paralyzed by terror, convinced that they faced technology so advanced it bordered on magic. Every routine action the Liberty took was interpreted as a demonstration of overwhelming power. In the space between the two fleets, fear and misunderstanding grew stronger with each passing moment. Both sides waited for the other to make the first move, neither realizing how badly they had misread their opponents. Captain Jake Morrison made his decision with careful thought. 3 hours had passed since first contact, and the alien fleet maintained its distance while refusing all attempts at communication. It was time to follow standard first contact protocols to the letter. "Ryan," Jake said to his communications officer, "begin broadcasting the complete first contact package. Mathematical sequences, atomic structures, peaceful intentions, and cultural information. Use all available frequencies and transmission methods." Ryan Brooks nodded and began inputting commands into his console. The USS Liberty's powerful communication array activated, sending signals across the electromagnetic spectrum. Prime numbers flashed in radio waves. Pictures showing human atomic models beamed toward the alien ships. Even basic music and art transmitted through space, hoping to bridge the gap between species. "Broadcasting on all frequencies, Captain," Ryan reported. "Full spectrum transmission active." What Jake didn't know was that his peaceful gesture terrified the Corvani even more. Their sensors detected the massive energy output from the Liberty's communication systems and interpreted it as some form of psychic weapon designed to attack their minds. "Admiral." Zexthera stumbled backward as his bioship's nervous system screamed warnings throughout its living corridors. The vessel's organic brain, grown from modified Corvani neural tissue, recoiled from the human transmissions like a creature touching fire. "Admiral," his communications officer cried out, his mandibles chattering in terror. "The alien vessel is attacking our ship's consciousness. It's trying to invade our bioneural networks." Zexathara's forearms shook as he gripped his command throne. The human ship was not just technologically superior, it was using weapons that attacked the very essence of Corvani existence. Their bioships were extensions of their own minds, and the alien signals felt like claws scraping against their souls. "All ships, raise bioshields to maximum," he commanded. "Protect your ship minds from the alien assault." Across the Corvani fleet, living vessels convulsed as their organic hulls thickened and hardened. Natural defenses that had evolved over millions of years, activated in response to what they perceived as an existential threat. The beautiful flowing lines of the bioships became angular and aggressive, transforming from graceful sea creatures into armored predators. On the Liberty, Dr. Lisa Chen watched her xenobiology sensors with growing excitement and concern. The alien ships were changing before her eyes, their biological signatures shifting and adapting in real time. "Captain," she called out, "the alien vessels are undergoing some kind of transformation. Their biosignatures are spiking across the board. It's like they're afraid of something." Jake frowned at his view screen where the enemy fleet had begun to spread out into a defensive formation. What had been graceful, whale-like creatures now looked like angry wasps, bristling with weapons and hostile intent. "Are they preparing to attack?" Commander Nick Davis asked. "I don't think so," Chen replied, studying her readings. "This looks more like a fear response. They're protecting themselves from something they perceive as a threat." "From us?" Jake asked. "That's the only explanation that makes sense." Chief Engineer Ben Taylor's voice came over the intercom, interrupting their discussion. "Captain, I need to run a full diagnostic on our quantum drive systems. We've been pushing them pretty hard with all these sensor sweeps and defensive protocols. Give me 20 minutes to check everything and make sure we're running at peak efficiency." "Granted," Jake replied, "but make it quick. I don't like the look of those alien ships." Ben began his diagnostic procedures, unaware that his routine maintenance would push the standoff toward disaster. The quantum drive diagnostic required cycling power through systems that the Corvani had never encountered. Energy patterns that seemed impossible danced through the Liberty's hull as Ben tested each component. On the Corvani flagship, the sensor operators watched the human ship's energy output climb to levels that should have been physically impossible. The diagnostic procedures appeared to their instruments as weapons charging for an attack that could destroy entire planets. "Admiral?" the sensor officer gasped. "The alien vessel is preparing to fire some kind of planet-killer weapon. Energy readings are beyond our measurement scale." Zexathara felt his warrior spirit crack under the weight of absolute terror. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered anything that made him want to flee without fighting. But this single human ship represented power beyond his comprehension. "All ships, implement emergency scatter protocol," he ordered, his voice breaking. "Maximum distance from the alien vessel. If that weapon fires, I want us as far away as possible." The Corvani fleet began to spread out, each bioship putting as much space as possible between itself and the Liberty. Crews that had never known defeat cowered in their organic corridors, certain that death was coming for them. Security Chief Kate Williams watched the alien formation change and felt her warrior instincts activate. Captain, they're definitely taking aggressive positions. Whatever they're planning, it's not going to be peaceful. Jake studied the tactical display, trying to understand the alien mindset. They had superior numbers but were acting like prey animals facing a predator. It made no sense unless... They're afraid of us, he realized suddenly. Ryan, stop all transmissions. Ben, abort the diagnostic. Everyone, power down to minimum levels immediately. Sir, Nick asked, confused by the sudden order. Look at their formation, Jake explained. They're not attacking, they're running scared. Something about our actions is terrifying them. The Liberty's energy output dropped as systems powered down to minimal operating levels. The quantum drive diagnostic stopped. The communication arrays went silent, and the ship's massive reactor settled into idle mode. On the Corvani flagship, the sudden change in the human ship's energy signature brought a moment of confused relief. The impossible weapon readings faded, but the aliens' fear did not. If the humans could activate such devastating power so easily, what did it mean that they had chosen not to use it? Admiral, the science officer whispered, perhaps they are studying us, learning our capabilities before they strike. Zexathera's compound eyes fixed on the image of the Liberty, now appearing deceptively peaceful on his screens. The human ship had demonstrated power that could shatter worlds, then simply turned it off as if it were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. What kind of species builds such weapons and then chooses not to use them? He wondered aloud. His subordinates had no answer. The Corvani understood strength and conquest. They respected power and feared only superior force, but the humans seemed to operate by rules that made no sense to a warrior culture. Dr. Chen continued monitoring the alien biosignatures, noticing how they remained elevated despite the Liberty's reduced power state. Captain, they're still showing extreme stress responses. Whatever scared them, they haven't gotten over it. Jake settled back in his command chair, realizing that first contact was proving far more complicated than any training scenario had prepared him for. Two fleets faced each other across the void, each convinced that the other represented an existential threat. The humans saw aggressive alien warships that refused to communicate. The Corvani saw reality-bending superweapons wielded by incomprehensible beings. Fear and misunderstanding had created a powder keg that could explode with the smallest spark. In the space between the fleets, tension continued to build. Each side waited for the other to make a move, neither understanding how badly they had misinterpreted their opponent's intentions. The stage was set for either peaceful contact or devastating war, and the outcome balanced on a knife's edge of mutual misunderstanding. Hours passed in tense silence as the two fleets maintained their positions. Captain Jake Morrison walked the bridge of the USS Liberty, checking each station and trying to understand the alien mindset. His crew worked quietly, monitoring sensors and maintaining their ship's defensive posture. Communications Officer Ryan Brooks had not given up on establishing contact. He worked tirelessly at his station, adjusting frequencies and trying new approaches. The Universal Translator program ran constantly, analyzing the few signals the aliens had transmitted and searching for patterns that might reveal language structure. Captain, Ryan called out, exhaustion evident in his voice. I think I'm making progress with their language. It's unlike anything in our databases, but there are repeating patterns that suggest structured communication. Jake moved to Ryan's station, hope rising in his chest. What do you have? The alien signals use frequency modulations that correspond to emotional states rather than direct meaning. It's like they communicate through feelings and intentions rather than words. Ryan highlighted sections of the transmission data on his screen. These patterns here seem to indicate fear, confusion, and respect? Respect? Commander Nick Davis joined them, studying the analysis. That's the strange part, sir. Mixed in with all the fear signals, there's something that translates as deep respect or admiration. Like they're afraid of us, but also impressed. Dr. Lisa Chen looked up from her xenobiology station. That matches what I'm seeing in their biosignatures. The alien ships are showing stress responses, but not the kind you'd expect from creatures planning an attack. It's more like reverence, as if they're in the presence of something sacred. Jake frowned at this information. Sacred? What could possibly make 12 massive warships filled with alien warriors treat his single vessel as if it were some kind of religious artifact? On the Corvani flagship, Admiral Zexathera struggled with the same questions from the opposite perspective. Hours of observation had only deepened the mystery of the human ship. His science officers had presented him with analysis that defied everything he understood about technology and warfare. "Show me the weapon analysis again," he commanded. His chief science officer activated the bioscreen, displaying detailed breakdowns of the Liberty systems. To Corvani sensors, the human ship's quantum computers appeared as devices capable of reshaping reality itself. The fusion reactors registered as controlled miniature stars. The gravitational field generators looked like tools that could crush planets or tear holes in spacetime. "Admiral," the science officer explained, "even their basic life support systems show energy patterns we cannot comprehend. They appear to manipulate fundamental forces as easily as we breathe air. And their defensive systems? If they chose to activate them fully, our entire fleet would be destroyed in seconds. The energy levels they can generate exceed our most powerful planet bombardment weapons by several orders of magnitude." Zexathara's mandibles clicked nervously. The human ship had shown them this incredible power and then simply turned it off, as if demonstrating restraint rather than weakness. What kind of warriors possessed such devastating capabilities yet chose not to use them? Back on the Liberty, Chief Engineer Ben Taylor was reviewing power consumption reports when he noticed something troubling. The ship's main reactor was showing signs of strain from maintaining defensive systems for extended periods. They would need to cycle through a complete system restart to prevent potential overheating. "Captain," Ben's voice came over the intercom, "I need to perform a scheduled power cycle on our main systems. It's standard maintenance, but it'll mean bringing our defensive grid offline for about 10 minutes while everything resets." Jake considered the request. Dropping their shields in the presence of hostile aliens seemed unwise. But Ben knew the ship's systems better than anyone. "How necessary is this maintenance?" "Sir, if we don't cycle the reactors soon, we risk cascade failures that could leave us completely powerless. Better to do it now while we control the timing." "Do it," Jake decided, "but keep it as brief as possible." What Jake couldn't know was that this routine maintenance procedure would push the alien fleet to the breaking point. As the Liberty systems began their restart cycle, energy patterns flowed through the ship in ways the Corvani had never seen before. On the alien flagship, chaos erupted as sensors detected what appeared to be the human ship transforming itself into something even more terrifying. The power cycle created energy cascades that looked like reality-warping weapons being activated in sequence. "Admiral," the sensor operator screamed, "the alien vessel is activating multiple planet killer systems simultaneously. They're transforming their ship into some kind of superweapon." Zexathara watched the readings with growing horror. The human ship's energy signature was climbing to levels that should have been impossible for any vessel to contain. Were they witnessing the activation of a weapon that could destroy star systems? "All ships emergency retreat," he commanded. "Maximum distance from the alien vessel." They're preparing to demonstrate their ultimate weapon. Across the Corvani fleet, panic spread like wildfire. Bioships that had conquered countless worlds fled in terror from a single human vessel. Crews that had never known fear cowered in their organic corridors, certain that they were about to witness the end of everything. Several of the smaller Corvani ships broke formation entirely, their commanders losing all discipline as primal terror overwhelmed their warrior training. The great fleet that had entered the system with confidence and arrogance was rapidly disintegrating into a mob of terrified refugees. On the Liberty, Security Chief Kate Williams watched the alien fleet's reaction with professional interest. "Captain, their formation is completely falling apart. Whatever they think we're doing, it's got them spooked." "Spooked enough to attack?" Nick asked. "No, sir. This looks more like a retreat. Several of their ships are already moving away at high speed." Jake felt a mixture of relief and confusion. If the aliens were retreating, that reduced the immediate danger to his ship and crew. But their extreme reaction to routine maintenance procedures suggested that communication was going to be even more difficult than he had imagined. Dr. Chen continued monitoring the alien biosignatures, fascinated by the readings she was getting. "Captain, the level of fear these creatures are experiencing is unlike anything I've studied. It's not just survival instinct, it's something deeper. Existential terror, as if they believe we can unmake their very existence." The power cycle completed, and the Liberty systems came back online with smooth efficiency. Ben Taylor's voice came over the intercom, calm and professional. "All systems nominal, Captain. Reactor efficiency back to optimal levels." But on the Corvani flagship, The return of the human ship's normal energy signature was interpreted as the completion of some terrible transformation. The aliens now believed they faced not just a superior enemy, but beings who could casually manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. Admiral, his communications officer reported, several of our ships are requesting permission to retreat to minimum safe distance. Their commanders fear for the sanity of their crews. Zexathara understood the feeling. He had spent his entire life building a reputation as the hegemony's most fearless admiral, but the human ship challenged everything he thought he knew about warfare and power. Maintain formation, he ordered, though his voice lacked its usual conviction. But all ships are authorized to withdraw to maximum sensor range. We will observe these beings, but we will not provoke them further. The standoff continued, but the balance had shifted dramatically. What had begun as a potential conquest had become a terrifying encounter with forces beyond Corvani comprehension. The human ship sat quietly in space, its crew unaware that their routine procedures had reduced a mighty alien fleet to a collection of frightened observers. In the darkness between stars, fear had become the dominant force shaping first contact between two species who might have been friends. If only they could understand each other. Dr. Lisa Chen had been working for 12 straight hours, and her breakthrough came when she was almost too tired to continue. The key to understanding the alien language lay not in words or symbols, but in the emotional patterns Ryan had detected earlier. "Captain Morrison," she called out, excitement overcoming her exhaustion. "I think I've figured out how to communicate with them." Jake hurried to her station, where Chen had connected the xenobiology sensors to the communications array. "What do you have, Doctor?" "Their language is based on emotional resonance rather than symbolic meaning. They don't speak in words like we do. They communicate by sharing feelings and intentions directly. Watch this." Chen activated her makeshift translation system and began broadcasting simple emotional concepts toward the alien fleet. Curiosity, peaceful intentions, desire for understanding. She modulated the signals to match the frequency patterns the aliens had been using. On the Corvani flagship, Admiral Zexathara felt something impossible happening. The terrifying human vessel was somehow speaking directly to his mind, not with words but with pure emotional communication. After hours of fear and confusion, he suddenly felt the alien's genuine desire for peaceful contact. They wish to speak with us," he said aloud, his voice filled with wonder. His communications officer's mandibles clicked in amazement. "Admiral, we're receiving clear emotional transmissions. No hostility. They seem confused by our reaction to them." For the first time since this encounter began, Zexathara felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps these impossible beings were not the destroyers he had feared. Carefully, he instructed his own communications officer to respond with similar emotional transmissions. On the Liberty, Chen's face lit up as her equipment detected the alien response. "They're answering. Captain, they're sending back feelings of surprise, fear, but also curiosity about us." Jake felt tension ease slightly in his shoulders. After hours of dangerous standoff, they were finally making contact. "Can you establish a dialogue?" "I'm working on it. Their emotional vocabulary is complex, but I think I can manage basic concepts." Over the next hour, Chen worked to build a bridge between the two species. She sent mathematical concepts wrapped in emotional context, showing that humans understood logic and reason. She transmitted images of Earth, of human cities, of peaceful activities like art and music, all packaged in feelings of pride and joy. The aliens responded with their own emotional packages, sharing images of their homeworld, their bioships growing in vast organic nurseries, their culture of honor and conquest. But underneath it all was a growing sense of bewilderment and something that could only be described as awe. Commander Nick Davis monitored the exchange with professional interest. "Doctor, are you able to determine why they seem so afraid of us?" Chen paused in her work, concentrating on the alien emotional transmissions. "Nick, I think they're afraid because they don't understand our technology. To them, we must seem like gods or demons. Our ships and weapons are so far beyond their comprehension that they can't process what they're seeing." "But that's impossible," Jake protested. "Look at their ships. Those biological vessels are incredible engineering achievements. They can't be that primitive." "They're not primitive, Captain. They're just different. Their technology is biological, grown rather than built. Our quantum computers and fusion reactors are completely outside their frame of reference. To them, we're manipulating forces they consider impossible. The full truth began to emerge as Chen refined her translation techniques. Through painstaking emotional communication, she learned that the Corvani fleet had been sent to conquer what they expected to be another primitive species. Instead, they had encountered humanity. Admiral Zexithara, communicating through layers of translated emotion, shared his perspective. His sensors showed the Liberty as a vessel wielding power that could reshape reality itself. Every routine human procedure appeared as a demonstration of godlike capabilities. The ship's quantum computers seemed to bend space and time. The fusion reactors looked like controlled stars. Even the life support systems showed energy patterns beyond Corvani understanding. "They think we're using magic," Chen reported to the bridge crew. "Our standard technology is so advanced compared to theirs that it appears supernatural." Security Chief Kate Williams joined the group around Chen's station. "Doctor, do they still consider us a threat?" Chen sent careful emotional queries to the alien fleet and waited for responses. "Not exactly. They're terrified of our capabilities, but they're beginning to understand that we don't intend to harm them. The fear is shifting toward respect, reverence." Jake studied the tactical display, where the alien ships maintained their defensive positions but no longer showed aggressive intent. "What are their intentions now?" More careful communication revealed the answer. Admiral Zexithara was facing the most difficult decision of his military career. His fleet had been sent to conquer, but conquest was impossible against beings who wielded such overwhelming power. Yet the humans had shown restraint, choosing diplomacy over destruction even when they held every advantage. Through Chen's translation, Zexithara shared his growing understanding. The humans possessed weapons that could have destroyed his entire fleet within minutes of first contact. Instead, they had chosen to communicate, to seek understanding rather than victory. Such behavior was beyond his experience, but it commanded his deepest respect. "He wants to know," Chen translated, "if we are the guardians of this region of space. He's asking permission for his fleet to withdraw without conflict." Jake considered the request carefully. The alien fleet was retreating not in defeat, but in recognition of humanity's superior capabilities. How he responded could shape humanity's reputation in the galaxy for generations to come. "Tell him," Jake decided, "that we have no claim on this space. His fleet is free to go in peace, but also tell him that humanity values friendship over conquest. If his people ever wish to meet again under better circumstances, we would welcome such contact." Chen translated Jake's words into emotional concepts and broadcast them to the alien fleet. The response was immediate and powerful. Waves of surprise, gratitude, and something that could only be described as profound respect. Admiral Zexithara's final transmission carried the weight of prophecy. Through emotional communication, he shared his decision to report back to the Corvani hegemony with a simple message. Humanity was not to be challenged, but rather studied and perhaps befriended. Any species that possessed such power yet chose restraint deserved the highest respect. As the alien fleet began to withdraw, moving in perfect formation toward the edge of the system, Jake watched them go with mixed feelings. Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible, not through conquest or aggression, but through the sheer terror their advanced technology inspired in others. "Captain," Chen said softly, "I don't think they'll forget this encounter. Word of what happened here will spread throughout their empire." Jake nodded, understanding the implications. Humanity had gained its first galactic reputation not as conquerors or diplomats, but as beings so technologically advanced that their mere presence could reduce proud warriors to terrified observers. The USS Liberty continued its patrol as the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind a mystery that would be discussed in Corvani war councils for generations. Jake and his crew had no idea that their routine defensive procedures and standard technology had just elevated humanity to the status of galactic legends. In the darkness of space, where fear and wonder had danced together for hours, the first chapter of humanity's galactic story had been written. It was a tale that would spread across the stars, carrying a simple message. There were forces in the universe so advanced that wisdom lay not in challenging them, but in earning their respect through peaceful contact. The age of humanity as a galactic power had begun, not with the roar of weapons, but with the whisper of restrained power and the promise of friendship to those wise enough to recognize the difference.